Hello, this is Valerie Aiello, and you're listening to Idea Diary. Thanks for coming back to my office and hanging out.
So today's show, I wanted to kind of keep going along with the theme that you can turn your negative vibes from other people, you can turn your boos into cheers. And even though you might not be getting praise or you actually might be getting negative feedback, you can you can change that negativity into positivity and just think about it differently and keep working on whatever it is you're working on. Because a lot of times you got to get through the bad ideas to get to a great idea, and you got to just plug away and keep going and keep going, and that will hopefully get you closer to your goal or your vision or whatever. A lot of times you got to suck for a while before you actually get good. Like this show, like me going every day, trying hard, or maybe not trying so hard, but at least doing the work, getting in my practice, and hopefully it's not like 5 years from now, but even if it is, hopefully eventually I will get great at speaking into a microphone, speaking at a camera, talking alone by myself for whatever amount of time that needs to be. Some people can talk for like an hour or 4 hours, and just go on and on and on with no one there, no feedback from anyone. And it just seems kind of interesting that I think that's a skill. Some people might come naturally, but I feel like it's very rare. Anyway, I came across something that someone said. I don't know where they got this statistic, but they said 90% of people do not mean to offend when you get offended. So basically, if somebody says something that feels offensive and you don't like it, or you feel like it's an attack on you, 90% of the time, they have no intention of offending you. They don't know how they've offended you, and they didn't mean to offend you, and they will probably apologize right away if they thought they ever offended anyone. So just decide not to be offended. And if you feel that offended feeling and you feel like kind of like that anger bubbling up and it's there and it's coming out, maybe decide to have a different reaction than biting someone's head off or trying to get even. I know that's probably easy, easier said than done, but decide if someone makes you mad, maybe decide, okay, what can I give them? It maybe a compliment, but not a passive aggressive compliment that you don't really mean. Like something, just turn it around. Turn the whole situation around and walk away or just move on. You don't have to like bring a teaching moment to every time someone offends you. You can just decide not to be offended and go about your business. And I don't know, I really put it into perspective for me, thinking like, yeah, 90% of the time people don't mean to offend you. And that 10% of time, it's usually a toxic person that you need to walk away from. And that both solutions, offended or deciding to not be offended, really means the same thing. You got to just move on, walk away, brush it off, whatever. Another thing that came into my lexicon for today is someone had mentioned Zig Ziglar said this, and I looked it up online and I couldn't find exactly if it was Zig Ziglar or maybe someone else, but there's a lot of videos about it when I looked it up, and that is changing the word deadline into lifeline. And that was another little aha moment for me, and I was like, yes, this is a great way to look at deadlines, especially if you're putting deadlines on yourself and no one is forcing you to finish something. If you are creating your own stuff, but you have your own deadlines in your mind of when you would like to get them done, sometimes you meet them, Sometimes you do not meet those deadlines, but if you think of a deadline as a lifeline, I feel like that changes perspective entirely, especially if you're working in a group. So I'm definitely going to incorporate this into my life immediately. Basically, if a deadline isn't met, like let's reframe that in our brains and say it's a lifeline, and it might feel cheesy, especially if you're dealing with other people. You might feel like a fake Tony Robbins or something. But I think if you kind of communicate to the group, okay, if this lifeline gets done, then our lives are different immediately. So that is kind of the motivation. Here's the spread of what needs to get done. Here are the dates when it would be nice to have them done by. Realistically, maybe things need to get backburnered. Maybe things need to be done faster. Maybe things need a little bit more time. But the point is, if you think of those dates as like a lifeline, and once that accomplishment is met, your new life is waiting on the other side of it. Now, that might mean there are a million deadlines till you actually reach your goal, but that just like achievement, the mission is unlocked. You're on to the next thing. It just seems like thinking of deadlines as lifelines, and I feel like there might be a better word, but I do feel like after that thing's accomplished, you're on to a new life. You're changing the trajectory of what path you're on. You're changing course with every single lifeline that is accomplished, deadline, and life is different once that's completed. I don't know. It just maybe you can translate that into your own brain into a way that makes sense. Maybe I'm being way too confusing. I would take a minute and just kind of search on YouTube deadline versus lifeline and see what other people are saying, because there's a lot of different opinions out there and people are talking about it, and just wanted to let you know. All right, well, thanks for coming and hanging out, and I will see you later.